Any questions you want to bring in from a previous session? Venkat, Saidu,
Uh,
Harsha.
yeah, Surendra. So while creating this load balancer concept, so
Hmm.
do we need to do manually while segregating traffic via VNets via virtual machines?
No, manually in the sense this load balancer setup. So when you are having
Mm,
multiple VMs serving for one application, right?
mm,
So adding to the backend pools, configuring the health probes, creating a load balancer rules, this has to be done through this portal. If not, via the whatever the scripting it does support like PowerShell, Terraform, all right, the medium ARM templates. So that also is allowed, but it has to be done. Otherwise, load balancer concept will not work.
yeah. So before doing this setup, that's what. So
Mm.
first we need to do a, initial setup, then automatically
Yeah,
it will.
correct. Whenever you are in a scenario that where you have created two VMs for a high availability, right? In such
Mm,
kind of scenarios, this option is ideal to use because virtually the customer, the application will try to use only one application. In the backend, it will have two servers to serve the business. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So let me give a recap what we have discussed in the previous session. So we have created two virtual machines. The virtual machine names called VM001 and VM002. These two virtual machines we installed Apache Tomcat as an application. Right. On top of it, we'll have basic HTML website we have published on these two VMs. And then we have created a load balancer. With this load balancer, right, we have created one front end. Front end is nothing but public IP assigned to your one application. So this is the front end we have configured to the backend pool. So backend pools is again nothing but your virtual machines, right? These are all the very basic configurations. One thing is the training, we added only one front end, one back end. In a real-time scenario, you can have hundreds of front end, 100 number of applications can use one single load balancer. Similarly, backend pools, I added pool 01. Like this, you can add 100 number of pool 02, pool 03, pool 100 also you can bring in, no problem. And health probes is nothing but probing as in general a keyword, right? It does refers to, it will check whether in my backend pool I am having two servers, VM001, VM002. What my probing concept will do, whatever the setting I made. In this case, I made a probing on a HTTP port, that is port number 80 in the backend virtual machines. If the port number is running, is giving a response for me, right? How we will check port number 80 is working or not? You go to command prompt, type telnet, give the public IP of the virtual machine. So where I will get the public IP of a virtual machine VM001 networking. Are you able to see here the public IP? If this is the public IP, where is my command from? 1 second, let me cancel it. So I'm trying to check manually. Yeah, sorry. So I'm trying to check manually the port number 80 is listening on this particular VM001. So if I'm listening, this connection will go automatically into the screen. It means the connection is there. It means port number 80 within the server is up and running. All right. So this is the same thing what we have done over the command prompt of manually been checking. In the backend, this load balancer will check the port number 80 all the time. Why it will check? If the port number 80 is responding means your application is running within the server. Your port number 80 is not working. What does it mean? You cannot access the application. So based on the response of this probing only, your load balancer will route the traffic to the backend servers. At last, we'll create a load balancer rule. Role is nothing but combining the three options. That is your front end, your pool, and health probe. That's it. Combination of above three items is nothing but your role. If you could see front end public IP, back end pool, port number on which your application is running, and health probe. That's it. No need to have much confusion on it. Right? Combination of front end IP, back end pool, and health probe is nothing but your load balancer rule. Is that clear, guys? Any questions? What we have discussed in the previous session. Okay. Next one is we want to discuss something called inbound NAT rules. So inbound NAT rules are something, whereas NAT stands for Network Address Translator. You can use one public IP to communicate with multiple port numbers. One public IP can use to connect multiple virtual machines. So in a scenario as of today, whenever I'm trying to take an RTP, whenever I'm trying to take an SSH, all these scenarios, right? I'm typically using public IP to connect, right? In this scenario, what I will do the NATing with my load balancer. I will take a SSH from my load balancer public IP. I will take an SSH or an RDP from a load balancer public IP. Shall we see that? Now, let's say I'm just saying this is VM001 SSH. This Azure virtual machine. This VM001 IP is this one front end IP. If you want to select different one, you can create and select it. Front end port, let's say for my scenario, I don't want to say to the internet that the port number is different. A standard port we are using. So before that, what is the port number to connect Linux machine using remote? SSH port number
22.
22. So that is a universal port number, right? It means that port number can be is an universal port and if everyone is aware of it. When you are open to the internet, it means anyone can come and hit the virtual machine. To bypass that, what I'm seeing, I'm going to say some custom port here. Let's say 5511 or 55111 is the port number from a load balancer to connect. This front end 55111 on a back end virtual machine, I will say to hit it on 22. You understand guys what I'm doing in NATing here? I am using load balancer public IP, front end 55111, back end 22 port. I'm just enabling the NATing. With this, what will happen? If I want to take an putty session, so instead of taking my server IP to take an SSH, I will take the load balancer public IP. What is the load balancer public IP front end? 20.214.185.87. And what is the custom port we want to connect now? 55111. Clear guys what we are trying to do? We're actually using this 20.214.185.87 and using this port number 55111 and we are connected to which server? VM001 server. Shall we do that now? Let's say open. Are you able to see that connection is successful here? You see the
Meaning we
connection.
can't make a connection now to 22 port, right?
Yeah, so
Will it
if at
allow?
all we want to customize that, yes, this is one among the option.
No, no,
We need to,
customize is fine. After customizing, if you want,
you
still
cannot
again
take,
want to connect to 22,
you cannot. We need to allow the traffic only from a load balancer. That's it.
load
So
balance
that
it off.
if outside world, if someone is trying to hack, you don't know the number what I've given as a front end, right? 22 as a
Mhm.
number, everyone is aware. right?
Mhm.
And one more advantage is if you are having 100 virtual machines, you no need to maintain 100 public IPs. One public IP is capable enough to log in with a different front-end port. Now, 55111 is login into 001, correct? What I will do, next rule, I will say VM002. I will select 02 VM using same public IP, but front-end port is 55112 this time. Backend is 22. So with this, what will happen? I'm going to use same load balancer front-end public IP to hit the backend port of 22. Clear? So one public IP serves my entire business public access of remote access to my Linux or Windows machines or application ports. Whatever the requirement is, this is how it functions of NATing. You are NATing a public IP to the server using your own custom ports. Are able to see front end is only one public IP. This IP is not changing here, but port number is only changing. If I use 55111, I will land at VM01. 55112, I will land at VM02. Shall we see that with a different port number how we can connect? This is my port number. I will go again to putty session. What is the port number this time I need to use? 55112. If it's 111, it will go to the VM01. 112 will go to the VM02. Let's check that. If I just type host name, am I in VM02? Is that concept clear, guys, about your NATing? Yeah, we have taken VM01, VM02 remote using our network address translator with the NAT configurations and NAT settings. Till now, any questions, guys? Able to follow about load balancer concept? Apart from load balancing, you can also perform the NATing as well. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So this is all about a load balancer. Let's say this is everything we created in a public load balancer, correct? Tomorrow you want to create a load balancer for a private. It means what you need to do, you need to select the respective VNet, but entire concept will be the same. There is no difference in it. Okay. Let's say I'm just creating a load balancer. Click on create. Let's say let me select the existing one. It is LB-RG. This is, let's say, internal load balancer 01. And I'm selecting Korea Central. Here, if you could see, instead of public, I will say internal. As soon as I select the internal, what will happen? It will ask you to configure the front end of a private IP, not a public IP. If I select add front end, I need to select the, let's say, app02. I will need to select the virtual network. So earlier scenario, what is the front end IP, guys? Front end IP is nothing but your public IP because your request will land from internet. So we are creating a front end as a public IP. When it comes to private load balancer, internal load balancer, you need to select the VNet and a subnet. So what will happen? In this subnet, you will get one private IP get assigned for this load balancer. So that this application or this NATing can be used within your organization. Clear? This This particular load balancer cannot be created like been accessible over the internet. This load balancer is meant to use within your organization. Okay, click on create. So once after provisioning of internal load balancer, right? The whatever the concept we have seen, let's say if I navigate it here, everything is same. There is no difference. But front end you could see a private IP 10.120.0.6 from my subnet. I will get assigned my own IP address to the load balancer instead of public IP. If you have public IP here, it means it's a public load balancer. Backend pools, health probes, load balancing rules, these inbound NAT rules, all these options are same as public load balancer only. There is no difference in that. Okay, am I clear, guys? Is that load balancer concept is clear at least on a high level? What does it function? How does it works? Leave about technology. You can learn through it from a recording from our blogs. But the expectation is that at least on a high level, if someone is asking what is mean by load balancer, for you guys able to explain. That's what the thing I'm looking at it. Venkat, Harsha, Saidu, Chiranjeevi, is that clear?
Yeah, yes, fine.
Yeah. Yes, right.
Oh, that sounds really good. If it is clear, let's move ahead to the next concept. That is nothing but we have a concept called traffic manager. If you could see here in this load balancer, we'll call it as a layer 4 load balancer, right? It means it works on a network level. We have one more service that is called Traffic Manager. So Traffic Manager is a service which works on a DNS level. It means it works with the URL based with the CNAME we need to integrate, and that will works with the DNS name. When it comes to DNS name, if you could see with the load balancer concept, right? We have only what we have done, we have added only virtual missions as a backend pools, correct? We don't have any other options because virtual machines only have an IP addresses. But when it comes to traffic manager, it does support your virtual machines, your app services, like that is your PaaS offerings from on-premises. If you have some application you want to do the load balancing or other routing methods, if it has other cloud service provider, if you want to use it in Azure, all those endpoints, all those services does support as a traffic manager backend pools. Here, load balancer will call that as a backend. Here, we'll call it as an endpoint. But the concept is the same. And one more most important thing, if you guys able to remember, load balancer when we got created, it is bound to a region, correct? We have selected Korea Central so that it recognizes the Korea Central virtual machines. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Similarly, when it comes to traffic manager, it is not a region specific. It is a global service. When I mean global service, it is Microsoft responsibility in the backend to make it available anywhere in the world. Right? When it comes to global service, it's completely handled by Microsoft availability management in the backend, and it is available all the regions. We don't need too much worry about where it is been running. Okay, to route the traffic, right, in a traffic manager, we have around 6, 7 routing methods we have, right? What are those routing methods? Let's talk about them. If you are having two virtual machines serving for one application, right, if you select as a routing method, these are theoretical concept, guys, post which we'll also see the practical thing. All right. If you could see here, priority is your routing method. For example, what will happen if you have two virtual machines? Your traffic from an internet will always lands on a traffic manager. Traffic manager will send the traffic to the only one server based on the priority what we configure, right? Other server will work as a backup in case the primary is not available, then only your secondary will start functioning. That is with the priority as a routing method. We have a weighted as a routing method. It will distribute the traffic based on evenly or according to the weightage what we give. It will distribute the traffic. It typically works as a load balancer with the weighted as a routing method. We have a performance based route as a routing method. It does. Let's say you have a traffic manager global service. You have application 01 is created in West US. Application 02 created in West Europe. Application 03 created in Central India. Right? These three applications you can add as an backend to the traffic manager with the performance as a routing method. What it will do, whichever the closest geographic location to the end user when it comes to lowest latency, that application will serve the business. It means if the request is coming from Chennai to the application, my request will serve by Central India application. If the request is coming from London, that will be served by Europe-based application. If the request is coming from US, that will land on a West US-based application. It means it will look for a closest geographic location. Is it clear? How performance functions with the routing method? Performance routing method, it works with the geographic level of endpoints for the end users to connect whichever is the closest endpoint, closest service when it comes to latency. Is it clear, guys, with the routing method? Performance? Venkat, Saidu, Harsha, Chiranjeev, able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay. Next one is geographic. When I say the geographic, it will be helpful based on the originating country. Let's say the traffic is coming from India. I can decide which endpoint to give a service. Let's say, assume that the traffic which is coming from a Singapore, I will say that the request should serve from India. If the traffic is coming from Dubai, I can decide the traffic has to serve from Europe, right? When you're selecting this geographic as a routing method, it will redirect to the specific endpoints in the backend based on the DNS query from where it got originated. Okay. And next one is multi-value. When I say the multi-value, you can give as an backend or endpoints as a IP version 4 or IP version 6 IP addresses. So what will happen instead of giving a virtual machines, instead of giving an app service, instead of giving on-premises, you can give an IP address segment, right? That segment will take care of whichever is healthy in that IPs running an application, it does return the application. Next one is subnet. This is the traffic routing method for it does route the traffic based on the end user IP address range, right? If the IP address of an end user is coming from this set of an IP, okay, in the backend, served from this endpoint. So I can decide based on the IP address from where you are coming, right? That is fall under subnet as a routing method, right? When it comes to interview traffic, what is mean by traffic manager? First question. Second question is what are all the different routing methods we have? Priority, weighted, performance, geographic, multi-value, and subnet. So these are all the 6 types of a routing method which does supported by Traffic Manager in Azure. Is it clear, guys? Theoretically, interview perspective also, this is the very basic question interviewer expect to get to know what are the different routing methods we do have. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now let me go ahead and create one traffic manager and then see how can we configure routing methods priority weighted. We'll take one of the example. We'll do the similar setup only, creating a health probe, configuring the routing and access the application using traffic manager URL. Now, before that, so how many of you aware about DNS, domain naming system? Okay, if you guys not aware, not a problem. Today, go through about this keyword called DNS, domain naming system, and then also read through the one liner of an answer of a DNS records. Most important records for us is A record, PTR record, CNAME record. Make a note these 3 types of records and the domain naming system. Understand these 3 very basic components and concept. Just understand it because that is needed for us. Yeah. Now let me go ahead to the portal to create a traffic manager. You could see that traffic manager profile. Click on it. Click on traffic manager profile. Creation is pretty much straightforward with very basic things, nothing, no complex things. But only thing is, as I mentioned, it works with a DNS base with the by using a name, right? Domain naming system. It uses name to access. That name should be unique. It means that whatever the name you are giving it here, it should be not used by any other customer. Let's say if I'm giving test, what is your URL will become test.trafficmanager.net. This is your application URL, right? So this test as an application name is someone is using already. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say AZT27, right? It is available. AZT27 is available as a keyword which is not been using not only in the subscription, anywhere in the Microsoft Azure concept. This traffic manager with this name is no one is created. If you could see whatever we have selected the routing methods here, discuss the routing methods all are available. Performance, weighted, priority, geographic, multi-value, subnet, all are available here. Yeah.
Yes.
So at the time of creation, we could select performance, for example. Later point in time, you don't want to use a performance. You want to go with the, let's say, priority base. So after creation also, this routing method can be changed. No problem in that. And then subscription is Azure training. I want to create in LB-RG only. I don't want to keep it in a new one. So that while deletion, it was pretty much easy for me. And resource group location, it was picked up Korea Central automatically. Click on create. When I go ahead and see, once after the creation of this traffic manager profile, let's see that how it looked like and all of the stuff. It is deploying. Yeah, it is done now. So I'm just going to the load balancer, checking for traffic manager where it is. So resource name is AZT27. Are able to see the resource name called AZT27. Type is traffic manager. What is the location you could see here? What is the location, guys?
Global.
Global. It means it is not bound to region. Okay, this is a global service, managed services from Microsoft. Let's get into the concept of traffic manager and then see the configurations. First configuration here, if you're comparing with the load balancer, front end is nothing but already configured. This is your front end URL. So if you hit this URL, expectation is to access the application. I have asked you to read through the DNS records with the reason. This is the Azure provided URL, correct? HTTP AZT27.trafficmanager.net. Can you give this URL to the customer? Did he accept?
No.
Because customer will expect the URLs with his own product name. Let's say if it's an Air India project, he will expect that AZT27.airindia.com, correct? For that mapping, you need to do it at a DNS server. CNAME is the canonical name in a very layman language, duplicate name. What I will say, AZT27.airindia.com. If someone is typing in the browser, in the backend, go and resolve it to AZT27.trafficmanager.net. That can be done using a DNS CNAME record. Older session, like previously in this session, we discussed load balancer front end IP. Do you give a public IP to the customer to access the application? No, right? We'll give him an URL that is, let's say, airindia.com. When I'm typing airindia.com in the backend, it should go and hit the public IP of my load balancer. That resolution will happen with the A record in DNS, IP address to host name. So these are all the basic things you guys should read through, have a note of it. Is that clear with the DNS? Next thing is backend. In this backend pools we called in a load balancer. Here we'll call them as endpoints. That endpoints, as I mentioned, if you could see, these are all the endpoints it does support. Let's say if your workloads in Azure, you can select as an Azure endpoint. If your workload is external, it means it can be run on premises, it can be from Amazon, it can be an AWS, it can be a GCP, it can be a local, it doesn't matter. You can bring that as a name of your endpoint and the endpoint public IP or FQDN. FQDN stands for fully qualified domain name. It means airindia.com or else a public IP of airindia.com. You can add it here and you can select the location for it from where this particular endpoint is from. We are going to do Azure endpoint. Before that, I want to explain. We discussed about external. It can from anywhere, from on-prem cloud, other clouds, or cross cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud, everything it does allow. Third option is nested endpoint. It means you can also configure one traffic manager profile as a parent. Within that, as an endpoint backend as one more traffic manager, that traffic manager again can have a routing methods. This is called nested endpoint. Able to follow? Your traffic manager routing methods. No. Nested endpoint. If you see this diagram, you could have some fair bit of an understanding. Are able to see there's a parent profile traffic manager. We have endpoints from West US, endpoint from West Europe, endpoint from West Europe. What is the fourth endpoint, guys, here? It's a one more traffic manager. Clear? This is called as child profile. So as we are configuring one below to the traffic manager, bringing the one more traffic manager, this kind of a design will call it as a nested endpoint. Is that clear? Any questions? Now, in our training session, we're going to use Azure Service Endpoint. When I say the Azure, as I mentioned before adding the services here, let's say cloud service, app service, public IP address, or what are the kind of service. So in our case, we'll select a virtual machine public IP. To choose that public IP, if you could see what it is saying guys here, cannot be associated with the traffic manager endpoint. I am having so many public IPs, my VM001, VM002. I have a public IPs to add, but I am unable to add it here. The reason behind it works with the DNS based routing. It means when I'm trying to access and traffic manager, when it is checking for an endpoint, it will also look for a name of the endpoint, not an IP address of the endpoint. For that, what you need to do typically, you just need to go to the public IP. Let's say this is your public IP of your VM001 IP address. Go to the configuration, give a name for it. That's it, VM001. So that what is the default DNS name? So till today, I'm only showing you accessing with the help of public IP only, right? By configuring the DNS label, what will happen? Tomorrow, if you want to take an SSH instead of public IP or RDP instead of a public IP, use this DNS name VM-001 dot koreacentral dot cloud app dot azure.com so that your service will also be accessible via the DNS name. Clear? Similarly, I will go to the VM002 also, networking, public IP, configuration. These are optional, not mandatory. So I'm just, for a traffic manager, it's a mandatory. So I'm just configuring it. Now I will go back to my traffic manager, click on endpoints, add an endpoint, select Azure, name is, let's say this is VM001. So cloud service or when you select a cloud service, it will not reflect. We need to set the public IP. When it comes to public IP, are you able to see now? Can be associated. These two IPs as moved to possible IPs can be added. Are you able to see that? So after adding a DNS name only, why does it require a DNS name? Because traffic manager works based on the DNS only. Click on add an endpoint. Similarly, you can add one more endpoint with a VM002 public IP. This is 02 public IP. Click on add. So now I am having two endpoints is there for me in the backend, right? Now I will go back to the configuration. Here, what is the routing method, guys? I am having performance. What is mean by performance? It will route the traffic to the nearest endpoint in my application where it has been running. But in our example, VM001, VM002 is from same location only. It doesn't make sense to use routing as method as a performance. I will go to priority as a method. So what will happen when I select priority? My virtual machine, whatever the priority one I given, that will take a precedence and serve my application. Whatever I give priority as a 2, that will take works as a backup. It will not give a response until or unless primary server is down. Is it clear? With the routing method of priority. So DNS time to live setting is 60 seconds. TTL value, TTL stands for time to live. It means whenever I try to access the application, the session is valid for 60 seconds and it will check for the connection liveness of my application in the endpoint, but every second, every 60 seconds. So similarly, what we have done probing in load balancer, they will call some monitor. In our case, my application is running at port number 80 HTTP protocol, so I'm just leaving it. If it's at 443, you can select HTTPS, change the port number to 443, still it is possible. My case, it is HTTP, so it is port number is 80. Path to monitor is complete application path, so I given root. If you have multi-site running in the same server, and if you want to monitor a specific path, you can give airindia.com slash countries is your path. You can give the specific path also if at all needed. This header code, status codes, and other stuff will give by your developers if at all they want to manage it. And we have probing intervals. How frequently you want to check? It is by default 30 seconds. You can also change it to 10 seconds interval. Tolerated number of failures. Let's say if a 3 failures, it will tolerate that. Okay, it's not giving a response on port number 80 for 3 times. Then only it will decide it is a failure. It is not healthy endpoint in the backend. Probe 10 seconds. It will not giving a response for 10 seconds. It will get timeout. These are all the monitoring or probing configurations of your traffic manager. When you are selecting this and then saving it, you need to check your endpoint status here first in place. What it is saying, guys, VM001 based on this configuration. What are the configuration? Monitoring HTTP port number 80. My website is reachable. Then only you could see the monitoring status is what is the status here? Online. Right? If the status, if the port number 80 in your application VM001 is not available, what it will say? It will say offline. I cannot give the service for you. Okay, let's go and access the traffic manager URL. This is my traffic manager URL. I'm copying it, pasting here in the browser. What is the application I'm able to access now? Application is serving from which server? Venkat, Hasta, Saidu, Chiranjeevi.
Yes, Surendra.
So now the traffic is coming from my VM001. Why it is coming from VM001? How many times I refresh? Why it is not going to 002?
Priority.
Yeah, we given a priority as one. Our routing method also is priority. Okay. If you want to check that, you can access this URL in your browser, guys. Just type in AZT27 dot trafficmanager.net in your browser and then tell me from which server you are getting a response. Obviously, it should be from 001. Is anyone trying to access the application?
So the meaning the application running on the particular host will, because I see the response is from Apache, right? Yesterday, like, you mean you have updated day before yesterday, you just gave that, you updated that statement over there, right? After installing Apache on the server.
Correct.
Is it response from Apache? Can you go to the screen? I mean, the third tab.
Yeah, it is
The
Apache only.
response,
Backend for this website, for my HTML based website, backend is Apache only. It is running on Apache.
oh, the response is from there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so with the routing method, how does it function, guys? As long as your primary is available, it will not send the traffic to the secondary. Correct. That is the design with the routing method of priority. So what I will do now, I will manually go to the VM01. I will down the application. What I'm going to do now, I will go to the VM001. I will stop this server. Now, what is the expectation, guys? What will happen to the traffic manager after I shut down the server? what will happen is your VM001 monitoring status will become offline because it is no more going to respond for this monitoring settings of port number 80 if they're checking for 30 seconds of a probing interval 3 times. If it is failed, what it will do, I will set tolerated failures is only 2 times and save it. So what will happen? It will check for 30 seconds, 30 seconds. If there is no response for port number 80, it will say that it is failure 1. And then it will route the traffic to your secondary virtual machine, secondary endpoint. So that what will happen? Automatically, if I refresh this page after a couple of minutes, my traffic will come from 002, not from 001. We'll see that practically as well. Let's see. The monitoring status here should go to offline. We'll wait for a minute to get it happen. Is that clear, guys? Able to follow what we are doing with the traffic manager? Any questions? Able to follow, right, guys? Is that concept clear? If you see what is the status here, it is not online, it is degraded. Now, if I go ahead and refresh this page, the application should serve from 002. Are you able to see from where my application is serving now? Which endpoint is giving a service? 002. It has automatically happened. So here I have made a down VM01 manually for the sake of training. This use case in the real time is if there is unforeseen situations, if your primary server is down, you can configure a secondary server to take the load or application request. That is the main agenda. This is how your routing methods will function. This is one of the use case which we discussed. If that concept is clear, guys. And apart from this configuration endpoint, you have an option, something called real user measurement. If you could and generate this key, then it will generate one small piece of a Java code, right, with the key and the measurement. This can be embedded in your Java based code so that that will be send the traffic data to the traffic manager for have a real user measurements to capture for your user request. Here you have something called traffic view. So it means this will give you a global map. So in a real-time scenario, what will happen? It does give you a global map. So it requires 24 hours to take an effect for a first time. Probably we'll see it tomorrow. So this particular view will give you a global infrastructure, which are all locations you are getting a hits, the more number of a request and where your endpoint is residing. All the posture, it could helpful for you. Let me type Azure Traffic Manager, traffic view. I just want to show you the image so that that could make you understand. Have you seen this image, guys? How it look like? In US, there is an application. It is giving in the entire region where and all it is hitting a response like this. Right? You should know, you will get to know where and all you are actually getting a request from the globe in a one view and one image. That kind of it will be helpful for your further analysis of your application, improvising it based on the request originating and all of the stuff. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah. Yes.
So this is all about traffic manager. As I mentioned, it does use DNS name based traffic. And we have seen one routing method as a priority. If you want to test, you can use weighted, geographic performance, all other stuff can also be tested. Okay, interview perspective, you should know what are the routing
It is
methods of
meant only for
security.
public, right? Like not for the internal traffic management. You have
It doesn't make sense, no, if it's internal, it doesn't make sense to use this
required.
routing methods, right? Yeah. It is for public app, correct. Yeah. Any other questions, guys, with this traffic manager profile? Traffic manager concept? Okay. In tomorrow's session, what we will do, we are going to create an app service, whereas we are going to deploy and see one sample bit of a code into platform as a service. In this scenario, we created a virtual machine. We deployed Apache Tomcat. We have like inserted our own code into the configuration file, correct? In this layer, we are responsible for managing virtual machine, responsible for managing your code, responsible for managing Apache. So all these layers are managing by ourselves, that is infrastructure as service. Now we are going to do platform as a service offering of deploying your app service, and then we'll deploy one sample. I have a Java based code. I will show you how you can deploy manually and discuss all other configuration items there. Okay, this is all about for tomorrow. Any questions, guys, for today before closing today's session? Okay, if there is no further questions, we'll wind up the session for today and we'll connect back by tomorrow, same time. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow. Have a good day.